trying to log on.
Okay, yeah, let's allow him to connect to that site.
Okay.
Or maybe you can continue with the introduction, Prof, while he's connecting that site. Just a background of what you guys are doing there nicely before he joins.
Oh, okay. I think, thank you very much, Prof, for the opportunity to do the introductions. I think the opportunity that we have here with this partnership as the National University of Lesotho and Faculty of Education in particular, I think is great, and it provides a platform for growth, especially for our PhD program, which is a bit at the start of, because as a Faculty of Education, we don't have many PhD programs, and in the faculty, we have only had 3 PhD graduates. So the platform for the students that we have, the current cohort, provides the right ground for them to be able to learn how colleagues are able to critique and then give comments for the proposals that have been presented here. And as a result, I think the opportunity is going to make them, as the PhD candidate, to actually kind of be much more informed. And I still want to believe in the next opportunity, the next meeting that we have, then we'll have at least 2 of our PhD candidates present, because I think as young scholars at the National University of Lesotho, we are still struggling and still trying to support our PhD students, and the pace may not be as fast as that of other universities that have actually have been doing the craft for a longer time, given also the resources. Access to resources from our side is not as much as it is from other institutions. So I think the platform in itself, in growing the PhD, I think is a good one. And I would like to thank you for the opportunity of this collaborative exercise for between the 4 universities and other universities that will join. So in that particular regard, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof. I think then when our PVC is ready, then you will then indicate. But for now, then I think I will have to also add some outcomes that are generated by this cohort, this collaborative cohort, is that we have seen quite a number of our students, as Prof has indicated, that from their side, they may be few, but from our side, we have seen quite a number of them that started the cohort last year, and then they were with us through the year of 2023. And then most of those students who presented their work, they had excellent progress in such a way that some of the students here, you can feel that they have that vibe, like the student Maphosa. I remember that Maphosa was one of those who presented in the first cohort. Now I think he's at the writing stage where he's enjoying his writing. And I've seen then there's also the student there by the name of Kebungula. And also that student now it's about to submit for examination, and others have already passed their work, but I did invite them to be part of this so that they can support other students, especially where colleagues indicated from their side that they may need that kind of support. We are really opening this platform for that to establish and build and develop our cohort of PhD students. But we are not ignoring master's students because master's students also are part of our postgraduate sector. Therefore, we also want to see them being part of this. Wherever you need support as a master's student, please feel free to be with us. We'll take that opportunity. So I think then in that way, we will be able to support one another through the journey. I'm not sure if our PVC is ready now.
I am still under the PVC. Are you in? There are many names here. Okay. Let me introduce you to the PVC. Colleagues, that the PVC says is in because he's joining from home. I may not know what he has joined as. So let me just make just a few remarks about Professor Kananelo Musito. He is an associate professor in law and a former dean in the faculty of law for 7 years, from 2012 to 2019, when he held the position of pro-vice chancellor at the National University of Lesotho. And between November 2019 until July 2021, he was the acting VC. And Prof, without talking about the qualifications, is also holding the position in the country as the president of the Appeal Court of Lesotho. So with those few remarks, may I call upon the PPC to make a few remarks to this particular gathering. PVC? I can get, I'm seeing his call here. Yes, Prof. Oh, you can't hear me. What? Yeah, please speak onto the audience so that you can see whether they can hear you. No, I can't hear you, Prof. What are you? What is your gadget named? Your names. Prof. Koza.
Yes.
Can you hear Prof. Musito from that side?
No, I can't.
Okay. Then I don't know what the problem is here, because
or maybe
he's speaking into something like and then there is somebody who responds, but I don't know whether it is not here, because I ought to have heard him. I don't know what he has logged into. The PVC. The PVC. No.
Maybe he has another link.
No. He says that there is only 2 of them there. Could he have logged into the Saturday?
Yes, link? I think he went to the wrong link. He should take the one for today.
Yes, Prof. Can you connect to the one on Friday? There are 2 links there. There's one for tomorrow, and there's another one. In there is only 2 of you because it is the wrong link. Can you connect to the other one? Yes, just above that one that you linked on the poster. Can you link to the click on the other one? Yes, there are two links. Can you click to the other one, not the first one that you clicked on? Yes. It's Friday. It's written Friday, Prof, on top of it. Sorry about the hiccup, Prof, because
No, it's okay.
He had logged with another person into a different link.
No, it's all right. He must just move to this one for today, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, while Prof is trying to log in, I would also I would like to acknowledge other universities like University of Namibia.
Yeah.
I've seen.
Is there, Prof?
Oh, it's there now. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Take over then, Prof.
Prof Misito?
Yes, Prof.
I had made a few introductions, so I think we can now shoot at least the audience knows who you are, Prof. I introduced you as the PVC, the former dean for 7 years in the Faculty of Law, acting vice chancellor for over 1.5 years between November 2019 up till July 2021, and the president of the Appeal Court of Lesotho and the PVC for this past over 4 years. Thank you very much, Ndade PVC. Over to you for making a few remarks. This is a collaborative initiative between 4 universities at the moment. I did introduce at one point in time Professor Koza and his colleagues when we initiated the collaborative engagement. So it is University of KwaZulu-Natal, Eswatini University, us, National University of Lesotho, and Kenyatta University in an effort to work together to mold our PhD students, the platform that we want to build each other in terms of supporting our PhD candidates. Over to you, Ndade PVC.
Thank you very much, Prof. Good afternoon, colleagues. Dear guests, esteemed colleagues, and of course, aspiring researchers as well. It is with great pleasure and enthusiasm that I extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you to this collaborative webinar on writing a research proposal. This initiative speaks a significant milestone in our collective pursuit of advancing knowledge and fostering academic excellence across borders. Allow me to express my gratitude to the participating institutions, the University of KwaZulu-Natal, University of Eswatini, National University of Lesotho, Kenyatta University, and other esteemed universities across Africa. Your commitment to collaboration and resource sharing underscores the spirit of academic solidarity and collective progress. You will agree with me, colleagues, that in today's interconnected world, where knowledge knows no boundaries, initiatives like these hold immense value. Through this webinar, we aim to facilitate the exchange of insights, expertise, and best practices in supervising PhD and postgrad students, particularly in the critical phase of crafting research proposal. So as I understand, and indeed I've been advised, that as we gather here from different corners of Africa, united by our passion for research and academic excellence, let us seize this opportunity to learn from each other, to enrich our understanding, and to strengthen our capabilities in nurturing the next generation of scholars and researchers. Writing a proposal is not merely a procedural step. It is a foundational aspect of the research journey, laying the groundwork for impactful and rigorous scholarly inquiry. Therefore, it is imperative that we equip ourselves with the necessary skills and knowledge to navigate this process effectively. So throughout this webinar, I am informed that esteemed speakers and experts will guide us through various aspects of writing a research proposal, sharing invaluable insights and practical tips. I encourage all participants to actively engage, ask questions, and contribute to the vibrant exchange of ideas. I conclude by extending my best wishes for a fruitful and enriching experience to all participants. May this webinar serve as a catalyst for collaboration, innovation, and excellence in research supervision across our esteemed institutions. I thank you once more for your participation and commitment to advancing scholarly pursuits in Africa and beyond. Together, let us embark on this journey of exploration and discovery. I am used to making long speeches, but I have been advised not to do that. And with those pieces of advice in mind, I thank you very much and wish all of us all the best. The journey now begins. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. VC. We would like to thank you for two main things. One, allowing your university to join these African collaborations. Two, your wise call. So that wise call will take us through the whole year and the other years to come. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you. We'll
Thank you very much
take
indeed.
your advice and
Thank you
lay
so
out.
much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Take care then. Okay, Dr. Njia, The opportunity now is over to you to share the session.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Simon. And I think I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Professor Mosito for the wise words that he has given to our students. And I think he has highlighted that writing the proposal is a very important thing because it's a foundation. It's where somebody lays the foundation for the academic career. And I think that is very important so that our students can be able to see that what they are doing by coming up with a proposal, it's the building block of their academic career, and so they should take it seriously. So I would also like to thank Professor Simon for being our team leader. You have led us quite well. And for those who may be joining us today for the first time, we have been having these webinars since early last year, I think around April. And we hold them every 2 months. And there's usually a theme that is handled each and every time when we meet. So I think if my memory serves me right, this should be our 6th webinar. And as you can see, then it means we have covered quite some distance. And I'm sure our students have benefited, the ones who have been attending since the beginning. And many of them have given testimony that they have been able to move a step or two as a result of the insight that they have gotten. So today, the theme for today's topic is writing a research proposal. And our guest speaker today is Professor Cosmas Maphosa. So let me do a brief introduction of Professor Maphosa, who is our guest today. He is a full professor of education, and he holds a Doctor of Education degree in Education Management, and also holds another PhD in Open and Distance e-learning. He has a long experience in the higher education sector since the year 2003, having worked as a lecturer, researcher, senior academic, development practitioner, senior lecturer, associate professor, and now a full professor. Currently, he is a professor and director in the Institute of Distance Education in the University of Eswatini. And he is widely published with 1 book, 6 book chapters, and 139 journal articles in accredited journals. Professor Maphosa has also supervised. He has got wide experience in supervising postgraduate students, and he has successfully supervised 15 PhD students to graduation. And he has also cited highly, and he is among the top 100 most cited education scientists in Africa in 2024, according to AD Scientific Index. He has research interest in educational management, curriculum development, as well as open and distance learning. So I think he is well placed to advise our students, our doctorate students. Like you have seen, he already has got 2 PhDs. So for those of you who are struggling with your proposal for the first degree, then you can see we have got a very good mentor in the name of Professor Cosmas Maphosa. So Professor, the floor is now yours so that you can give us what you had prepared for us. So you are welcome, Professor.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Let me try to connect to share my screen from this end. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well. It's unfortunate that I don't have camera with me here, but you will be able to hear my voice. Just confirmation, Chair, if people can hear me.
Yes, me. I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank
Yes,
you very
can
much.
go on. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Same
So
here.
I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to your students postgraduate students on the issue of research proposal writing. I think as an icebreaker, I will allow you to talk as participants, just to give you 5 to 10 minutes, just to talk about the work you are doing. I think we'll benefit more from those that have approved topics with their supervisors, and they're currently working on something that is approved, and they have an idea of what they are working on. You can just tell us about your topic, how you came up with that topic, what exactly is your research issue, how would you explain your topic as a researchable one, and methodologically, how do you intend to carry out your study? And if you also in a position to share with us maybe what theory or theories inform your study. So you can just show by raising your hand. I'll call on you, then you'll unmute and just speak to us briefly so that we give you the opportunity to just talk about what you are doing. Who wants to start?
Can I?
Yes,
start?
please go ahead. Go ahead, Grace.
Can I start?
Yes, go ahead, Grace.
Hello,
Please go
can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, mine is really like I'm just trying to begin, so I need your support or your advice. I'm writing on head teachers' preparedness in implementing performing arts into brackets music as a compulsory policy in public junior schools in Mombasa County, Kenya. Kenya changed its system of education from content-based system to competency-based system in 2017, and they began grade 1. By 2023,
we are losing you,
junior
Grace.
secondary. The report was launched on August 2023, and it recommended that the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development should rationalize the number of learning areas and curriculum designs in terms of scope and integration of subjects within learning areas, the gaps, the content, the overload and overlaps in basic education, which is primarily what is being done from grade 1 to grade 9. Grade 9 will be there next year. Currently, they're in grade 8. However, a Ministry of Education circular of the Republic of Kenya on 20th December 2023 was sent to all regional directors of education, all county directors of education, and all sub-county directors of education, bring to attention to all the head teachers of addiction based curriculum. And so
unfortunately, we are losing you, Grace.
Great. 7 who had done 14 learning now, and they're going to do 9 compulsory learning areas. And you see, out of the ones that they did in grade 7 in 2023, some of them were optional. So this concept paper, mine is a concept paper, is still at the beginning stages. I shall focus on the creative arts and sports compulsory policy at junior school. And specifically, I will go to the performing arts, which is based
You should be gone now, Grace. I think we heard partly what Grace was sharing there. It's quite a topical topic because it's something that is to do with what is happening now in the Kenyan curriculum. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the other part. I don't know if there's anyone else who would want to share with us what they are doing. If you are ready, just unmute your mic and speak. I may not be able to see who is raising their hand from this end. Do we have anyone?
I can come in, Prof. Good
Yes,
afternoon, Prof.
go ahead, Busisiwe.
It's Turu
Yes, go
Dube.
ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm Turu Dube. Thank you, Prof. I'm Turu Dube from the Kingdom of Eswatini.
Thanks, Turu.
I'm drafting my proposal for my PhD study. It is actually on secondary school chemistry learners' lived experiences of using a learning management system called the Eswatini Learning Passport. I call it the ELP to make things easier.
Mm.
The ELP has recently been introduced. It was introduced last year to schools by the Ministry of Education and Training after there was this challenge of lockdown, which kept children away from schools, and there was very minimal learning that took place. So immediately after that, the Minister of Education and Training introduced this one to schools. And I can say it's generally a simple learning management system when you compare it to the known ones like Moodle and the rest and others. So my task or my intention is to explore the learners' lived experiences using that learning management system. It is basically mainly for students' use because it has got lessons that have been uploaded according to the syllabuses. So the gap here is that, okay, learning management systems have been used in higher education institutions mostly. This is relatively new, you know, in Eswatini to have it in schools. And the studies that have been made on learning management systems was mainly also on most of them are on teachers' perceptions using the learning management systems. But now it would be good to find out how the learners themselves, especially at school level, because it's relatively new, how the learners perceive it.
Okay.
So my intention is just to find out their experiences and how the experiences influence their use of that learning management system, and also why they use that ELP the way they do.
Okay.
I intend using a framework called the Natural Identity Framework, which talks of different forms of curricula. You know, it emanates from different forms of curricula, which is, we have the professional one, we have the societal one, and we also have the individualized one, if I may say, the one that emanates, that addresses learners' needs, you know.
Okay.
And then when all those are brought together, you know, in the right proportions, they intersect to form a natural identity, which we believe is the one that can assist a student or a child or a learner to perform at their best.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm still struggling with. I need to consult more with my supervisor with the kind of methodology I would like to use
Okay.
in that one, because yes, let me actually, in the methodology, it is not the whole methodology I have a problem with. It is actually the sampling technique that I want to do. But the methodology itself is from the point of the pragmatic paradigm, and which would lead me to a mixed approach in this. Yes, mixed methods, and then sampling techniques there, because it's still new, and it might not be in all schools. Not all students might be able to use it, more so because of the what can I say, the resources it requires for students to be able to access it. So I had intended to select schools.
If I may ask, for how long has this been implemented? When was it introduced?
It was launched in April last year.
Last year. So it's kind of less than 1 year.
Yes, it is less than 1 year.
No.
So yes, so that is what I'm saying. I have a challenge with my sampling techniques, because I might need to do a snowballing kind of sampling techniques.
Just to see who is actually
and then to collect.
utilizing.
Yes. And so the students themselves, or the instruments that I intend using, are first to do reflective activities, and then from there do observations to see them while they are engaging with the platform, how they are going to be doing it. And then after that, it will be semi-structured interviews, and then finally the focus group discussions. I think I can leave it at that, Prof.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think being able to talk about what you want to do is a very good starting point, because you'll be able to articulate what you want. Then when people are listening, they can always be making comments. Can we have the last one just to share with us what they are doing before I proceed?
Can I come in, Prof?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm back.
Yes.
Yes, my name is Maphosa from the National University of Lesotho. Yes. I'm working on the evaluation of implementation of inclusive education policy for learners with intellectual disability in Lesotho primary schools. I came out with this title because there's been an outcry by teachers that it is not very easy to implement the policy. The policy has got lofty goals. It aims at celebrating unity in diversity. It aims at assisting the teachers with the implementation. It aims at bringing all the stakeholders, more especially the parents, in the education of their children. But despite all these lofty goals, we find that the policy has never been evaluated since its enactment in 2018. So my concern is, to what extent has the policy been implemented? What are the issues, or what are the factors that are actually hindering its implementation? The learners are there at the schools already because the policy has been implemented. So I want to hear their views. What are their views with regard to the policy as the primary beneficiaries of the policy? There are many theories that are influencing this study. There is systems approach, there's what, but for purposes of my study, I intend to use the implementation science theory, because I want to get it from the teachers as to how they are implementing the policy. What are their experiences? What challenges are they going through? My empirical study, I've tapped into other countries and seen how they've actually implemented the policy, the challenges they've gone through, some of the resolutions or the solutions they come up with to make it implementable, and see if those can be domesticated into our situation.
Okay. No, thank you so much. I think it's quite clear, being a policy evaluation, kind of a study. Grace, do you still want to say anything? I thought we were done with you, Grace.
I hadn't completed. I was thrown out by the internet.
Okay, just for summarize so that we proceed.
Let me just summarize. So, so I'm looking at these rationalized areas, and they're no compulsory. And I realized that in 2023 they were optional. So I want to look at what is happening to schools that were not prepared to take like compulsory music. Do they have the required resources? And it's only like 1 year before next year when they'll be doing their final assessment for basic education in terms of junior school. So I'm trying to find the head teacher's preparedness on the teacher capacity in implementing the performing arts or music compulsory policy in public junior secondary schools. I would like to assess the preparedness in working with the maybe board of management and the like for support. I would also want to see how they're going to provide musical career guidance, because in 2025, the learners will then was expected to pick on the area of career. And this career will be mainly, if those who are doing performing arts will be choosing that. However, are they prepared to do that? I would also finally want to see there are senior schools that have got the music or performing arts. And just a small background about the problem is that in the Ministry of Education, as it makes those decisions, they should know that like in Mombasa County, there's a big problem because of what I'm just about to tell you now. In the NEC report of 2024, only 19 learners in Mombasa out of the total from the country 903, 138 candidates, only 19 sat for music exam, and they also all performed dismally. And then only 2 schools, that is 0.04% of schools in Mombasa are taking music at senior school. And so there is a problem. Now I need your guidance from there. What am I supposed to do after that?
Yeah, yeah, maybe we may talk a bit later. I
Yeah.
suppose let me just go through. Maybe as I go along, you may be able to get something. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Grace. So for you to succeed as a postgraduate research student, the first thing is you need to develop a keen interest in your research area. You know, I know there are so many reasons why you end up with a particular topic. Maybe somebody told you that is something worth researching, or it could be pressure from your supervisor. But my take is that you need to undertake research on something that is of interest to you, because that interest will sustain you in your 3, 4, 5 years of your PhD journey. But if you do something that is not of interest, it may be a problem, because you may end up not seeing the need to continue in that particular research area, which becomes a problem. And before you do anything, like developing a proposal or even talking about it, you need to read a lot about what has been done in your area. Whatever research topic you have, something has been done in one way or the other in some different contexts. So try and familiarize yourself with what is around that area. And this involves a lot of reading around. You may even look at other completed research studies in the field of education in general or in the broader field of social sciences, just to see how others have done it. You also need to set aside some time every day. You know, you don't need to work with something that is not coordinated in a way where you may end up forgetting about what you are doing. But even if you have submitted something to your supervisor, meanwhile, you should be doing something like there's need to be reading around. So at least if you have a timetable where you close yourself out of everybody and just stick to your study and work, you will find that you will have covered a lot in terms of your reading and your writing. And yes, you may visit the physical library, but there are a lot of electronic sources available now. So you need to gather as much literature as possible. And postgraduate work is supervised work. So develop a very good relationship with your supervisor so that your supervisor understands what you are doing and also understands your challenges so that you work together. If I'm working with my students, I have to know what they are doing at any particular level, even if there could be quite a number of them. And I also need to take keen interest in the work of my students so that should I find some material that is relevant to what they are doing, I can also share with my students. So the issue of supervisor-supervisee relationships are very important. We may even need to talk about the supervisors themselves. What then is research? At PhD level, we have this statement that is always coming from your supervisors. In this study that you have, what will be your contribution to new knowledge? We don't want research for research's sake. We need to be able to try out new methodologies, try out new concepts, to be very innovative in the way we work so that our studies at the end of the day, they contribute to a change in policy and practice so that whatever you are proposing them is something that can change the face of the field of education in general in some particular aspects of it. So you have to link what has been done to what you are going to be doing. Otherwise, if there's no link, there's that detachment, there will be a problem because you have to locate your study within the broader field of what others have done. And the contribution and generation cannot be overemphasized, but it is also important to note that the whole process is systematic and deliberate. You have to plan it, hence the issue of a research proposal. If you have any question as I go along, please just unmute and ask a question because we may not be able to go back to some of these issues, but if there's anything, just ask a question as we go along. So how to be systematic and deliberate is in how you plan your study from the beginning. So that is why we are talking of a research proposal. But you need to understand from the onset, the research process has to be clear in your head as a PhD student because you've already done research studies at honors degree, masters, now you're at PhD level. So you know exactly what is involved. As our colleagues were presenting what they are doing, you can actually tell that there have been some observation about something that is amiss. And then you seek to find out what is wrong and how these things could be improved. So it starts from a mere observation or some intuition or something, but you need to package it in a more scholarly way when you now go to the statement of the problem of your proposal to say, where is the problem really? What triggered you to undertake a research of this nature? What was amiss? Is there any statistical evidence that point to a challenge? Is there any research evidence that point to a challenge? So when you package your statement of the problem, as I'm going to say in the later slides, you need to ensure that there is adequate evidence to that. Then you read a lot, like I indicated in the previous slides. You cannot have a meaningful proposal when you have not read much around your study area, because that reading will assist you to shape your working title and come up with your research questions, objectives, or hypotheses, which will then inform the methodological processes and procedures, where you are going to show how you are going to undertake the research methodologically in a sound and reproducible way, so that you have results that you later on discuss against your literature and your theory. Then you make conclusions. And it is on the recommendations at PhD level where we expect solid recommendations that contribute to new knowledge. What then is a research proposal? For any meaningful study to be carried out, you need to plan. You need a blueprint. You are thinking through the process before you undertake it. So you need to be clear about what you want to do, starting from what is the problem, justifying it, addressing the parameters of the study, scope and focus, having those guiding questions and hypotheses with your literature review, conceptual and theoretical frameworks, then the methodological. So as supervisors or as a research committee in a university, depending on the process that is undertaken there, it is this proposal that we have to present to a higher degrees committee, so that the people who are listening to you present find it very clear that you know exactly what you want to do. The focus of the study is clear. The study is feasible. The research questions or hypotheses, the objectives are clear. And even the areas that you need to address in terms of literature review are also addressed. Then methodologically, the study is also sound. So it's just akin to a building plan that when we see a building successfully erected, completed and everything, it started as a drawing on paper where someone was conceptualizing everything about the building and attending to critical issues about the building. And it is that blueprint that is given to a builder who was not even involved in developing that plan, who now does the construction. And if it is done well, it comes out as prescribed in that particular plan. So that's exactly the same as what you need to do in terms of a research proposal, that you have to be clear. May you please mute your mic if you are not speaking, so that we don't have okay. So that's exactly what we talk about in terms of a proposal, that we need to see that blueprint. We need to see that plan from the beginning to the end, well thought out, so that at least it's clear that this is something that is going to be done. It is important to have a research proposal so that you outline all your steps. You show that you have thought through the process. You provide your intellectual context of the study, and also attend to any anticipated challenges there. The key issues that I'll address here are on researchable topic, background to the study, statement of the problem, the guiding questions, rationale. What I should say here is that your university may be having a particular template for developing a proposal. You follow that template. What I will discuss here are general issues that may cut across the different templates, but it is important to familiarize yourself with the research proposal template of your institution so that you don't leave out any issues that they deem very critical. I was asking colleagues, how did you come up with your research topic? Yes, this may emanate from personal experience or maybe some curiosity that has been aroused in one area or the other, where you feel that something may not be right. We're talking of implementation of some new curriculum innovations from two of our colleagues there, inclusive education for students with intellectual disability. The policy is there. The schools have been implementing the policy, but how effective is the policy? Are there any challenges or lessons to be learned which can inform possible revision of the policy or anything to that of that sort? So we are saying you experience something, you observe something, and then you want to do something about it. So what is the state of knowledge in the field? We know that knowledge is always evolving. So what are you saying about the state of knowledge? There's a problem and you want to solve it. We have some studies that suggest interventions, and an intervention is tried out, and then results are produced to say, can this intervention work or it doesn't work? Some topical issues that you feel the press or it's common discourse in the field of education in your country about that particular topic, and you want to make a contribution to it. All you need is to place your study in a certain way to show that there's a gap in knowledge, there's a gap in information, or there's a gap methodologically, which your study now wants to fill in. There could be value issues, everyday life, or even gaps in literature, theory, and research. So all this may contribute to researchable topics. I will pass this just to show that your title, again, you may just start with the broad area of interest. Then you need to fine-tune it as you make it more specific. The units of analysis, you have to be very clear. If it's implementation of a curriculum aspect, are you targeting teachers? Are you targeting learners? Are you targeting parents? So your unit of analysis has to be very clear. And the focus of the study should also be very clear to say, what exactly do you want to do? Then you coin a working title, which may change as you go along. So your topic should be researchable. There should be problems that are worth pursuing. There are some issues that you may feel that there's nothing to investigate. If you try to go for that, you may not really come to. But what is important is to ensure that if it is a problem, for you to answer that problem in a systematic way, you need to undertake some sound methodological processes and procedures. What instruments do you have? How do you craft those instruments? How do you validate those instruments? How do you implement and collect data using those instruments? And what kind of data do you have? And how do you report it? So that has to be clear in terms of the topic that we have and how you answer the questions in that topic through a scientific analysis of the data that you collect. So the topic has to be clear and well focused, and we need to see exactly what you want to do without being ambiguous or being too broad or being too narrow, but we need to know exactly what you want. So you narrow down your title to make it more meaningful and manageable, because if you make it too broad, it becomes a problem in terms of how you manage it. So you need to be clear about how you narrow it down. So these are just some of the examples of topics, but it depends on what you want to say. Now let's go to the background of the study. After you have agreed on your research topic with your supervisor, that's the starting point anyway, that this is what I want to do. Then you and your supervisor agree that this topic is really researchable, it is feasible, and what you want to do is very clear in that particular topic. You go and try to contextualize your study. And I found many students having a problem in understanding the background to the study. What we are saying is we need to understand the context of what you want to research into. Has it been done elsewhere? Are you able to place it in a conceptual or historical context? Maybe it's an issue that traces curriculum development in your country. You may need to go historical and show us what is happening. Then you also go to other contexts, that is the broader and the general description of the study area. So we need to see what is happening in other contexts on more or less the same issue. Because if you are talking about implementation of a curriculum aspect like the arts issue that was talked by a colleague in the beginning, this is not the first time that kind of a thing has happened in the world. It could be the first time in your country, but some countries have tried out those. What happened in those countries and what are the gaps in our understanding, which now point to what you want to do. Normally, when I advise my students, I ask them to use a funnel approach in dealing with the background to the study. What is happening in the international context on the issue of inclusion of children with disabilities or learners with intellectual disabilities? How are other countries implementing that aspect of their education system, inclusion, and including children with intellectual disabilities? How do they do it in their countries? In the global field, then you come to the African context. If you are in Southern Africa, you come to the Sub-Saharan Africa before you zero in on your local context, so that we understand that something has happened elsewhere. But in your discussion of the background, you should always be pointing to the gaps that are there. Then you move on naturally from your statement of the problem, from your background to the study, it will lead you to the statement of the problem. Where is the problem? What necessitated you to undertake a study of this nature? It starts as an observation, but it cannot end as an observation. It now needs to be packaged in a scholarly manner in that statement of the problem, where you give pointers of evidence that speak to the existence of a problem. These could be statistical evidence. These could be studies, findings from other related studies to show that there are pointers to a problem. This is how you craft your statement of the problem. So once your statement of the problem is clearly crafted, showing exactly what triggered you to undertake your study, you then introduce your research questions or your research hypothesis, depending on the type of study you are carrying out. Some studies may do perfectly well with the hypothesis only, but these are issues that you discuss with your supervisors. But you see that the issues that you are going to state in your research questions or hypotheses, they will have had indicators or pointers that emanated from your statement of the problem. And in terms of the purpose, you are simply linking exactly what your study is all about. What do you want to really do in terms of the purpose? So it may indicate the issue that you want to study, who will be involved in the study, where the study will be conducted. But normally there should be a direct link between your purpose with your research title, so that what you have in your research title is not divorced from what you now have in the purpose. Because the same issue that you have in your research title is the one that now it should be shown in your main research question, if your template talks of a main research question, and also in your aim or purpose of the study, so that there is that clear link from the title of your focus of the study without bringing in new issues. The problem with most students is that when they now dwell on a purpose or aim, they now bring in new issues that have not been outlined elsewhere, which becomes a problem in aligning and maintaining the focus of your study. Let's say your template allows you to use the main research question. This main research question has to be linked to the title of the study, because that's exactly what you want to do. If what you have in the main research question is not what you have outlined in the title of the study, then the issue of focus may be lost there. So that one has to be very clear. Then your sub-research questions are those questions that will assist you to answer the main research question. As you answer the sub-research questions, you are also answering the main research question. And let us make sure that if you are coining your sub-research questions, these are questions that should be answered after collecting data. So you wouldn't have simple questions that can be answered yes, no. Those will be wrongly constructed as research questions. But you need something that can be answered by that process which I talked about. And you also need to make sure that your research questions are manageable. This is an issue that you can always talk with your supervisor to say, how many should I have? There's no a standard rule to say these are the research questions that you need. The same with the hypothesis. You need to have a clear understanding of what those hypotheses intend to get from you. Then you coin your hypothesis very well in consultation with your supervisor. Like I said, it depends on the nature of your study, whether it will require research questions or it will require, because there are some purely quantitative hypothesis testing studies which will just do well with a set of hypotheses, but you need to answer those hypotheses using the scientifically proven ways. Then when we talk of research objectives, these are not taken from anywhere. They are simply linked to your research questions or to your hypothesis. That's again another way of maintaining focus of your study. You don't bring in new issues in your objectives, which you never mentioned in your research questions. Otherwise, there will be a mismatch between your research questions and your research objectives, or your research hypothesis with your research objectives. So you need to maintain this clear link. Both these research questions or research hypotheses, these are the basis of your study. Because at the end of it all, when you go to your results chapter, when you go to your discussion chapter, we want to see if your study has answered the research questions. When we are assessing these PhD studies, that is one of the fundamental weaknesses we have established, that students have their research questions which they have clearly stated in the first chapter, and some of them very clear and achievable. But when you go to the nature of data that has been collected now, maybe it's because of a faulty instrument, Because if in designing your instrument, you don't align your instrument to your research questions, hypotheses, or objectives, you will not collect the data that you would want. So if you want your data to align to what you really want in terms of your research questions, make sure that as you design your research instrument, you are guided by your research objectives. For this objective, what are the questions that I want, and who am I going to be asking those questions? For these objectives, what are the set of questions I want, and who is going to respond to depending on the instrument that you are using? Then that will be allow you to collect data that you want, which at the end of the day will say your objectives have been met. Significance, I'll just pass this, is just the importance of the study, and I think you have to be clear who is going to find the study important and in what way. Then you also need to define the parameters of your study in terms of your delimitation or scope. These are conceptual boundaries and geographical boundaries. Where exactly your study cannot be too open. It has to be controlled in a way. Hence, the importance of defining these parameters and boundaries, where you explain what you are exactly going to do and where you are going to do it, so that the examiner or whoever is assessing your work cannot accuse you of not having done other things which were not clearly spelled out in your delimitation. Because you are saying, this is my actual focus and I'm not going to be looking at anything else other than that. Then also have your definition of key terms. You know, there are terms that run through your study, which are common terms. You need to identify those terms, and you give a scholarly definition for each term and also an operational definition. Inclusive education is defined as, but in my study, it's going to be so that at least we are clear that you understand the scholarly definitions by whoever is given that is defined that term, but you also bring that term to your particular study so that at least it becomes an operational one. Conceptual framework, there's a difference between conceptual framework and theoretical framework. Let us try to get books and articles that differentiate the two so that we don't mistake the two. I've explained the conceptual framework there as a map of the relationships between the key concepts of your study. So the conceptual framework is about the main concepts, while theoretical framework is about the theory that is underpinning your study. So you need to provide a clear overview of the research problem and identify those concepts or variables that are involved in your study. And you show in diagrammatical form or whatever way you form the relationship between those concepts as they develop into the key issue of your study, and how this framework is going to assist you in analyzing and interpreting your data. We can have a whole workshop on theoretical framework where we talk of how we theorize issues in research. We don't just do research now without attributing what you want to do to a particular theory or theories. Again, there's a debate whether how many theories do we want in a study. My advice is that if you find one suitable theory, that will be the best, because at least you can be able to control that theory and show how that theory goes through all aspects of your study. Because this is not just an extension of the literature review, but you are saying my study is underpinned by this particular theory. So which aspects of the study are informed by that particular theory? How is the theory going to inform your literature review? How is the theory going to inform your crafting of research instruments, your data analysis, your data interpretation? Even when you discuss your findings later on in the later chapters, you need again to relate your studies to the tenets of your theory. So a theoretical framework is very important because it is a theory that runs through your whole study. Some may use two theories, but make sure that you are able to align those two theories and show how they dovetail into each other in terms of your study. You need to be clear about your theory and what it is all about and how it informs your study. Then in your proposal, you also need to do a brief literature review just to show that you are familiar with debates around your study, what has been said by others. And I don't think at PhD level, we will have problems of how to really go through a literature review like we normally do at undergraduate or even at master's level, where students want to narrate what literature says. You know, so and so says this, so and so says this. This is review. It's a higher order objective. You are comparing and contrasting different views of authors in one way or the other, and you also draw conclusions. So what starts is an idea that you are interrogating. Then you show how the other authors view that particular idea. And then you give your own viewpoint. What we normally miss in literature review is the author's voice. Yes, I mean, the author being you, the one who is writing. If these other writers are saying this and are saying that, where do you stand? So we need your critical engagement with literature. And it is important to be highlighting the gaps that are identified in literature and how your study is going to be filling in those gaps. So where others disagree, you take note of that and comment. If there's an argument that you find more persuasive, then you have to show us that this argument is persuasive and you give reasons why you seem to find that argument worth following. But don't forget to always bring in your study. If the authors are bringing in these views, what are the implications of this to your particular study? It is also important as a point to observe that your areas of review should also be aligned to your research questions and hypotheses, because you find this necessary when you later want to discuss your findings, so that this is literature that is relevant and related. Therefore, you need to fine-tune your areas. Let us avoid plagiarizing. You know, there are software now that quickly check if the similarity levels are too high. But what is important is to paraphrase what you what you have read, so that you present it in your own words, and rather than just extracting chunks and chunks of information from papers and books without you doing due diligence in terms of presenting them in a paraphrased way. Otherwise, plagiarism is a very serious academic problem, and let us try and avoid as much as possible to be seen plagiarizing. Then now we go to, it is important in your proposal to be clear about your methodology. You know, the methodological processes and procedures that I talked about in the second or third slide when I started. It has to be clear what sort of a study you are carrying out. And there's a clear alignment of these studies from the paradigm to the design. If you mention a certain paradigm, it goes without saying that we seem to know what will follow in your approach and what will follow in your design. Because there are research designs that are meant for a particular approach, answering to a particular research philosophy. Because by research paradigm, we're simply talking of a research philosophy. What is your philosophical overview of how you conceptualize research in terms of theory of knowledge, theory of values, role of the researcher, and so forth. So be very clear about the link between your paradigm, your approach, and your design, so that there is no mismatch there. Then, like a colleague was explaining, that now I have a problem with my sampling. You also need to be very clear of your population, if it is a quantitative or a mixed method study. Your population frame is the one that informs your sampling frame. What is your population like? So what kind of sampling procedure are you using, sampling strategy, so that at least you come up with a representative sample if your study requires that the sample is representative of the population. There are certain approaches and designs where the sampling may not necessarily need to be representative of the population, you know, when you are talking of purposive sampling in a qualitative study and so forth. So how then do you collect your data? The process is to be very clear. If you are using a structured questionnaire, you need to understand what is a structured questionnaire. How is it constructed? How is it validated? How do you attend to issues of validity and reliability? Because when you are dealing with quantitative studies, issues of validity and reliability become very important, because you can't go into such a study when you have not done justice on how you validate and address reliability issues on the instrument, because that is important in the nature of data that you collect. Then how do you analyze your data? And you also need to address the research ethics. Research ethics are very important. In education, we deal with human beings. How do you address issues of respect and protect the integrity of your human participants? It becomes even worse when you're dealing with students who are under 18 and they are your respondents or your participants. You need to do something to ensure that you address issues to do with protecting the rights of the minors. We don't want studies that cause any harm. They may not cause physical harm, but emotional and other forms of harm. So there are different aspects of research ethics that you need to address in your proposal. I talked about research paradigm, that this is basically the philosophy where we have those common philosophies: positivism, interpretivism, constructivism, pragmatism, and so forth. So you have to be clear in which philosophy is your study located. Are you able to explain and justify? You know, if you're just doing hypothesis testing, then you need to be explaining that this falls within positivism. And what did the positivists say about theory of knowledge? Is knowledge something that is testable, something that is verifiable, and so forth? If your study is located in interpretivism, that's basically a qualitative study in terms of the approach. What is interpretivism? What do they say about knowledge, about values, and the role of the researcher in the process? So you have to be clear about your paradigm. The same with your research approaches. Be clear about what qualitative is all about, quantitative is all about, or mixed methods. Then of importance on approach, paradigm, and design is to always explain what it is and justify it in the context of your study. Is your study really qualitative? Why do you say it's qualitative? Is your study quantitative? Why do you say it's quantitative? So you need to be justifying and showing why this approach is relevant. I said something about the designs, that some of these designs, they speak to your approach and your paradigm. The main approaches that we have are quali and quanti, but we also have studies informed by the pragmatic philosophy, which deal with mixed methods designs. So when you are dealing with a mixed method study, read a lot, especially Creswell, what Creswell says about mixed method research designs, because mixed method has its own research designs, and you have to explain that kind of a design and what it is. But for the others, I think it may be quite clear. But when it comes to mixed methods, you really need to address the issue of a relevant research design in line with a mixed method study. So justify your design. If like it's qualitative and it's a case study, then you need to explain what is a case study and why is it relevant to your study. Always bring in your study. Sampling procedures, again, those are very important as part of your methodological processes and procedures. It all starts with your unit of analysis. Who are you targeting? Who is going to be your informant or who's going to be your respondent? Then how do you select those respondents or participants? Again, the way you sample speaks directly to your approach and design as well, because there are certain sampling strategies that cannot be used in particular, other types of studies. For example, if you want a sampling technique that allows you to come up with a sample that is very representative to the population, that is in line with a quantitative approach. You need to show us what exactly are the key characteristics of the population. If you are dealing with university students, you cannot just sample any type of university students without explaining to us the characteristics of those university students and the numbers in each stratum. So you may end up with some sampling procedures like stratified random sample, where you are now talking of addressing the different strata in your population, so that the results that you get are not skewed towards one area because your sampling was not correctly done. Because if, for example, you want input from all the university students and then you collect data just from the first years, there's a problem because your sample was not representative of what? There's also the issues of gender, class levels and so forth. So you have to be very clear on what you want to do in terms of your sampling procedures. So there are also different sampling strategies that one may think of, and we can read about this. Then now let's go to data collection. Now that you have your instrument, which you have designed, if it is a quantitative study, you have validated the instrument, you have tested it for reliability and so forth. Then you go on to collect your data. The process of collecting data has to be very clear. The choice and how exactly the data is collected. There are different data collection strategies. I will not bother you with these ones. Then you go on to after collecting data, you need to analyze the data. Again, it depends on the nature of your study. If it is typically quantitative, then we need rigorous statistical analysis there. If it was a hypothesis testing, then we want to see how the hypothesis testing was carried out and the results thereof. If it is, and I've also seen students who feel I'm not good in numbers, I'd rather go for a qualitative study, with the misconception that a qualitative study is simple when it comes to data analysis. I don't think is that easy, because there's a lot of rigor that is required in qualitative studies in terms of how you analyze qualitative data. Imagine you have an interview with 10 different participants, and each participant is giving you their own side of the story. How do you reconcile those responses from the participants for you to now, like if you are using thematic analysis, for you to come up with the themes and sub-themes? So that is the only good thing with data analysis nowadays, is that there's quite a number of software that we can utilize to assist us to analyze data. So be clear about the quantitative statistical packages that are there for analysis, and also the qualitative qualitative packages that are also there to assist you to analyze a qualitative study. But of importance is the process that you undergo to ensure that someone is going to find your results acceptable and meaningful. I did talk of validity and reliability in terms of quantitative studies for instruments. When you're now doing qualitative study, issues of validity and reliability are not really that important in a qualitative study, but you have to attend to issues of data trustworthiness, credibility, transferability, dependability, and confirmability. How did you address these issues? Because the way we validate a qualitative study and attend to issues of reliability is different in a qualitative study from what we do in a quantitative study. So these four aspects of Lincoln and Guber's criteria are very important in a qualitative study, to say, how did you address credibility? How did you address transferability, dependability, and confirmability? And I did allude to research ethics at some point, that in your proposal, you need to show clearly how you address aspects of ethics. You know, we need to do something that is morally right as we deal with our participants. We don't have to violate their rights. So the first thing is to get clearance from your institutional research board, and research permission from the authorities that preside over the institutions that you want to involve in your study. If it's schools, the Ministry of Education has to give you explicit permission to involve the mentioned schools in your study. And at school level, you also need to address the gatekeepers, the principals, heads, and so forth, so that they also give you explicit permission to enter their schools, disrupt teaching in a way as you carry out your study. Then the participants themselves, or the respondents, they have to give their consent to participating in a study. And that informed consent form has to be clearly crafted so that the person can sign to give you consent. That is if they are over 18, depending on the legal age of majority one for your country. If it is 16, that's fine. If it is 18, that's fine. But if a child is a minor, is deemed a minor at law, then you need to get that consent from the parent or guardian, and ensuring that in everything that you do, there's no coercion, there's no exposure to harm and risk, and you're also transparent in the way you collect data and the way you invade into people's privacy. Then of importance is confidentiality and anonymity. We don't need to know who your participants are. I've seen some who want to take photos in classes, and I think we should try and where possible to avoid those things where one can identify from where these participants away from this becomes a problem. The issue of chapter outline is also very important in your proposal, and it depends on your institution. Some institutions are quite clear that they want this number of chapters. Some may allow students to be innovative and do whatever you want in terms of the number of chapters, but there's no hard and fast rule as to the number of chapters. Theoretical framework can be a separate chapter if you really want to devote a lot of attention to your theory. Then you separate it from literature review. Some, when they go to chapter 4, they can present their results, interpret them. Then they have a separate chapter on discussion of findings. It just depends on your preference, your supervisor's preference, or the institutional dictates there. You may also have a need to address budgetary issues in your proposal. You just have to be clear about the items and the costs. Maybe your university funds you and they want to know how much they can allocate to your study. You need to be clear of every cost that you are going to incur in your study and how much in terms of estimates that will cost. Then you come up with the total, and that will be the overall expense for your study. So I think I've come to the end of this presentation. In terms of references, everything that you cite in your proposal, you need to cite properly in the text, and also when you compare with the reference list. Each and every source that you have cited in the proposal, we should find it on the reference list in full reference details, depending on the referencing style you are following. And that referencing style has to be followed to the last comma, so that we don't have a situation where the in-text referencing is shoddily done and the reference list is also. So if I just point onto a reference that is on page 5, when I go to the reference list, I should find that a source properly referenced on the reference list. So ladies and gentlemen, and Chair, I think I've come to the end of my presentation, and I can take a few questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Maphosa. Your presentation was very nice. It was very clear, and I'm sure everybody has benefited, not only the students, but also the members of faculty who are here. We have all learned, because learning is a continuous process, and I think you have covered it so well in a very cool way, and in a very good pace. You have delivered it in a very good pace, and I'm sure everybody has been able to follow. And you have looked at the entire research journey, and you started by giving a snapshot of the research journey, right from when you make observations using your senses, all the way to the step of developing the proposal, collecting the data, analyzing the data, writing the report, and giving the recommendations. And I think that slide was very nice in the sense that it captured it graphically, so that somebody can be able to see the starting point at the end point. Thereafter, you have been able now to go systematically into the research proposal, starting right from the title, how you come up with the research title, and you have gone through each step. And I think the explanations were very clear, and you made it look so simple. But I think it's because of your many years of experience as a teacher. You are able to simplify things which look very complex to our students, so that it looks very simple. And it's like doing research is something very cool. And I'm sure our students have benefited, and from what you have taken through, then they can be able to see where they are in the research journey, and they can be able to see what steps they need to take. So thank you very much. And maybe I would request maybe you could pull down your presentation so that I can see the people. And maybe I'll request the members, the students who are there. We may not be able to clap physically for Professor Maphosa, but if you go there to the reactions, you can click on it and you can give him a clap. You can give him a thumbs up, or you can even give him a bouquet of flowers, because I think he has done it. He's done it quite well. So you can do that, and then as you do that, then I'll open the floor so that I'm sure there are people maybe with some questions or who would like some clarification on this or that issue. So just raise up your hand and then I'll give you the opportunity. I'll raise up your hand and I'll give you the opportunity. Okay, there's a hand which is up, but I think the name is not there. The name that is there is the name of the gadget. Hisense U70 Pro. I think that's the name of the gadget that is being used. But you can unmute and give your comment or question. Okay, anyone with a question, anyone with a comment? You can unmute. Yes, please. And do we make it brief, please, so that we can get as many as possible?
Yes. Thank you so much, Professor. I have actually understood so much from your what you've presented. Now, my question is, when one begins to write, as you said, that we do the funnel kind of presentation, in a situation where, like, beginning with from how I began with what is happening currently in our country, so at what point do I start talking about the other countries, what is happening? Do I begin first with what the other countries are doing, or do I begin first by highlighting what is happening?
But if I should respond now, Chair?
Maybe we can take about 3 questions and then you respond to them. Then we take another round of 3 questions. Anyone else with a question? There's a hand that was up, but I can't see it now. There's somebody whose hand was up. Or you can just unmute. If you have a question, just unmute and shoot your question.
Thank you, Professor. My name is Mercy Akekandambi from University of Jaramogi Oginga University in Kenya. I'll wish to understand how different is the background of the study from the abstract. What context do the two have in difference?
Okay, thank you, Mercy, for that question. Let's take another one question.
Hello, Prof.
Yes, go on.
Hey, Prof.
Go on with your question. Go on with your question, please. We can hear you.
Oh, thank you so much. Mine is not a question. It's a very clear presentation, very informative presentation that we got. That's why what I only say to you for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That is Mafata. Thank you. So maybe, Prof, you could respond to the 2 questions as we wait for more from the audience.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with Mercy. Mercy, you say, what is the difference between the background and abstract? If I got you well. The abstract, to me, it's just a summary of the whole thing, where maybe you want to summarize your whole proposal in 100 words or 150. So it's just a summary of everything. That's what I understand with an abstract. But with the background, you want to contextualize your study by looking at what happens in other contexts before you look at your own, which answers Grace's question to say you introduce your study in the first paragraph or so of your proposal, maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs. Then after introducing your study by dwelling possibly on the local context, then you go global, you go African, you go so that at least when you come back to the end, you will now again tie what you did in your introduction with what is in the last part, which is your local context. Then that leads you to the statement of the problem, which basically deals with your local context. Thank you, Chair. And I also thank Mafata for the
So just a clarification, Chair. So
Yes.
does it mean during the formulation of the proposal, you will construct your abstract after you finish the whole chapters, I mean, the whole subtopics of the proposal, or you start with the abstract during the formulation? Because you say the abstract shortens the summary of the whole proposal.
Yeah, that one is a bit, let me just answer it, Chair. Because you see, like when they all call for abstracts in conferences, at times you may send an abstract of a study that you have not carried out, but there are certain sections that may not have the required information. So it can work both ways, that you can start with your proposal, complete it, and then you have your summary of it. Or in that proposed summary, before you even do it, but you maybe futuristic, I would want to do this and that. But basically, a summary is for somebody, even when you talk of an abstract of your own research study, when you've completed it, it's after everything has been completed, then you can have, but it can still work both ways. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof, for that. Let us have some more questions, please, from the members. I can see we are quite many. We have got about 109 members. So let's have some more questions so that we have more interaction. And I'm sure the questions that are being asked, they are assisting everybody, every other student who is here, not only the one who has posed the question. So let's have another round of 3 questions.
Hi, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Prof. My name is Faith. I would like to get some clarification, especially when formulating the problem statement. You first formulate the problem statement, then from there you can come up with the title, or you first come up with the title of your proposal, then from there you can be able to formulate, understand, maybe formulate the problem statement. And also, when you are formulating the statement problem, do you have maybe to have like a literature review first so that you can come up clearly about the project, the problem statement, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Faith, for that question. Let's have another 2 questions. And if you're unable to ask your question, I've said you can also type your question on the chat, then I'll pick it from there and pass it over to Prof. Just in case you are not able to verbalize your question, but you can be able to put it down in writing. I can see there's already one question in the chat. Maybe, Prof, I can lead this for you. The question is saying, should the solution of the gap identified for research be included in a problem statement? Should the solution of the gap identified for research be included in a problem statement? And then a follow-up question is, what is the ideal length of the problem statement? So, Prof, you can take note of those 2 questions. Let's have another question.
May I come in?
Yes, Violet, you are welcome.
Thank you, Daktari. First, I'd love to thank Prof for the wonderful presentation. And just a quick question. Now, when someone is doing a topic which is like an emerging area that does not have vast literature review. I don't know what can someone go around such an issue. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Violet. So, Prof, you could respond to those. I think there are 4 questions now.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. Let me start with Violet. Yes, I've heard some students saying my study doesn't have much literature, but I'm still to find out a study that really has serious paucity of literature. You know, the issue that you may be investigating may be referred to in different ways in different contexts. So you may need to widen your search, and you will definitely find out that there will be some literature related to your study. So it may not be that there's really no literature at all. Then there was a question which says, what do you start with? Do you start with the title or the statement of the problem? Well, it depends on your working relationship with your supervisor. I'll just start with my own experience with my students. The first thing that I do with my students is to agree on a working title, because the working title becomes a guide for us, so that whatever we are developing with that working title in mind. So even when we come to the statement of the problem, we will deal with the statement of the problem of the title that we already know, rather than starting with the state of the problem, then we try and coin. But one thing that I have to clarify here is that whatever title we have at this stage is a working title, which can always change in one way or the other, but not necessarily changing the whole essence of the study. So it may be good to start with the title so that it gives you focus on what you want to do, including what you include in the statement of the problem. Then Faith indicated, I don't know if it's Faith, that should we include gaps in literature in our research, statement of the problem. The statement of the problem is really contextual. Literature is broader. It can be telling you about what is happening in other countries. But I believe if you want to really show that there is a problem that has triggered your undertaking of a study, that has to be in your context. What is the statistical evidence? What is the research evidence in your context? Yes, you may have done some review of documents, of whatever information is available in that context, so that you enrich your statement of the problem. Because you can't justify undertaking a study in Eswatini, for example, by pointing out to challenges in the United States of America. You need to show how the problem is really an issue in your particular context. And of course, it involves reading around your topic by looking at issues in your own context. I don't know, Chair, if I have not left out anything else. Thank you.
Okay, Prof, I think you have answered the questions quite well. And there are some more questions on the chat. Maybe okay. let me lead them for you. Okay. There is one question from Robert who is asking if your study is about coming up with a theory to situate your study in the area under study, how you want to situate in the whole study. Let me repeat. If your study is about coming out with a theory to situate your study in the area under study, how we want to situate in the whole study. So that is a question from Robert. There's another question from Mohasoa asking, what exactly makes background different from literature review? What exactly makes background to the study different from literature review? Then there's another question from Nancy, and she's saying that I would like to know the aspects of an abstract, the key aspects of an abstract. Then there's another question from Nokwanda, which says, sometimes there's confusion between research methodology, research design, and approach. For example, the research design being referred to as methodology. Can I get clarity there? So these ones needs clarity on what is the difference between research methodology, research design, and research approach. So Prof, I think you could respond to those as we wait maybe for another round of questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. I'll start with Robert. Yes, Robert, we have studies that will result in generating new theories. I think there are qualitative studies of that nature, but basically those studies can just follow the same process we talked about here. But it is the methodology that you engage in now that will show whether what you want is to generate theories or to test theories, because studies can do both. Then how is background of the study different from literature review? Like I indicated in my presentation, in the background of the study, you do a lot of reading, just like you do a lot of reading when you're doing literature review. But the focus is that you want to place your study in context. That's basically and precisely what the background to the study is all about. You are saying, this is my research issue, but what is it that is known about this issue in the different contexts? But when you are talking of literature review, it's now the other section that is very open in terms of aligning the areas that you research, possibly to your research questions, where you are now reviewing literature on the different aspects of your study without necessarily addressing the issue of placing the study in context. But the process is the same. For you to come up with an effective background to the study, you have to do a lot of literature search. For you to do literature review, is precisely literature search. But how do you work on what you've gathered there is what makes a difference. Nokwanda, you talk of research methods, design, and research methodology. For me, when I assist my students, I address those fundamental aspects which I addressed in one of the slides, to say, you are saying this is the methodology section or the methodology chapter of my study, but what constitutes that? You start at the philosophy that informs your study. That's the research paradigm, which informs your research approach. And the research approach informs the research design. Then you go down to the sampling and data collection and data analysis. To me, that will really assist you to address the different aspects of the methodological processes and procedure. But to refer to design as methodology, I'm not so sure. But we can always read research textbooks and other articles that have been written on methodology. They will clarify some of these things so that we don't miss out on important issues on methodology. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof, for that response. I don't know whether there could be maybe one or two people with a burning question before we end the session.
Doc, I think I've seen Jack Tony's hand a long time ago.
Okay,
So,
then let him raise the question. Yeah.
Jackson.
Let the question come.
I don't know. Oh, I think his mark is problematic. Then I can see that it has gone. Oh, it's coming back now. Unmute yourself, Jackson. Unmute yourself, please, and then you send your question. Oh, it's still muted. Okay, let me try to unmute him. Oh, it's muted still. Muted.
There's
Hey,
Nancy there.
oh, there you go. Checked in. I'm not sure what is up.
There's a
Yeah,
problem
Prof.
with this microphone.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
There's Nancy, there's Lungile there.
Yeah, I think let's go for others, the Nancy and the Lungiles.
Nancy's here. Prof,
Yes, go ahead,
hear me?
Nancy.
I asked about the abstract, the key aspects of an abstract.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, Nancy. Let me address this. Like I said, Nancy, the abstract is a summary of your proposal. So all the aspects of the proposal should be in summary form in your abstract, so that when we read your abstract, it becomes clear what the whole study is all about. Just like when you complete your research study and you do an abstract, it's just a summary of the entire study. So in this sense, the abstract is a summary of the entire proposal. So all those issues have to be there so that at least one can understand what the proposal is all about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Anyone else with a question? We don't want to lock out anyone.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Lungile. I would like to know how old should the literature be that would be used when we're doing our research?
Prof, maybe you could respond to that as we wait for maybe one or two other questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lungile. Well, it depends again on the institutional requirements to say how far back should you go in terms of the literature that you use. Some say 10 years, some say 5 years. So just familiarize yourself with your institutional requirements. But the bottom line is you don't need to be using sources that are too dated, like 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Like I'm saying, some universities may say 10 years ago is so it normally depends on but what we are saying is you need to build your argument on current literature. You can't be building an argument for a PhD study using sources that are too old, because a lot may have happened that some of the claims you may be making there may have been overtaken by events. So just make it a point that you use sources that are very current so that your argument is well understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Anyone else with who would like to pose a question? Anyone else? Because
good evening. And thanks for the presentation. Am I audible, Prof?
You are. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. My question is on the issue around trustworthiness. There's a voice somewhere else. On the issue of...
I have a problem. The sound has disappeared.
I think now Dr. Ogeno is. I think Dr. Ogeno now his sound is coming. Okay, let's continue. Let's continue as we try to sort out Dr. Jackton.
It was my boy there. What happened to my boy? I was asking about trustworthiness.
Hello. Oh, I got muted. Okay, I'm still on it. The trustworthiness.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. The presentation made a point that the areas around validity and reliability in most instances are used in quantitative research.
Yes.
And for qualitative Prof, you recommended Lincoln and Guba, the transferability, credibility, dependability, and confidence.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got a problem with that submission because some literature would point to validity and reliability, which I found relevant to aspects that I found relevant to qualitative as well. For an example, under validity, they would go to an extent of mentioning areas such as respondents validation, the use of audio recordings, or use of contradictory evidence. And I found such to be quite relevant in terms of qualitative reliability aspects. You'd come across issues like multiple coding, detail, and transparency. So I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure if my understanding to say reliability and validity, despite the Lincoln and Guba 4 aspects, one can still continue to tap into validity and reliability in a qualitative study. Thanks.
Okay.
Is it over? Okay, just beep me because I'm not hearing any sound.
Dr. Ogeno, you can ask your question now. We can hear you. That is Dr. Ogeno. I think he's having a challenge with the sound. But let me tell him to pose his question because we can hear him, but he can't hear us.
I think his
okay. Thank you. I'm very sorry, my sound disappeared. But I just wanted to commend the presenter. Professor has done wonderful work, very comprehensive, and has given a whole panorama of research proposal. I just wanted maybe to raise issue with the number of chapters in a proposal, because he said it can be 5 chapters and more. I think there's a difference between a proposal and a study which is already done. And of course, it varies from university to university. The other concern that sometimes we restrict our referencing to APA and the Harvard style, but I think there is other references which actually we should be flexible. Because many people believe that referencing is only the two, Harvard and the APA. Otherwise, I'm very grateful. This is a wonderful presentation. Thank you, Professor, for this wonderful presentation.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Ogeno, for your comments, and I'm sure Professor has taken note. Maybe, Professor, you can respond to the question that was asked.
Okay.
Earlier. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Let me start with the question on trustworthiness and validity and reliability. I think I will encourage the students to read more on methodological aspects in terms of the research approaches, because there's certain language and terminology that is consistent with a particular research approach. And if we try and mix some of these terminologies, it may show maybe to an external examiner that maybe we are not sure about what we are talking about. Because when you talk of those statistical tests, because if you talk of reliability tests and so forth, some of those things are mere statistical tests to validate and make sure that the instruments are reliable. But when you talk of expert opinion or finding out from other participants, maybe debriefing and so forth, there may be aspects that you can also address issues of data trustworthiness, as long as you're able to show exactly how you do them. So we don't rule out them completely, because there are aspects of the measures that are taken to enhance data trustworthiness. Like I said, the issues of templates is one that plays a major role. Some would want students to develop proposals in chapters, but some universities, a proposal is not developed in chapters, because all you have in the proposal will end up being the first chapter of your study. So it depends on the requirements of a particular institution. When I was referring to chapters there, I was referring to the proposed chapters in the study, not in the proposal. To say this study that I intend to do here shall have 5 chapters or shall have 7 chapters, and the chapters are going to be containing the following items. So that one is simply speaking to what is proposed as the number of chapters for the study as per the But if your institution is saying, let them develop chapters as proposals, then that's something else. When I was giving examples of Harvard and APA, I don't think I indicated that these were the only 2 referencing styles. And there are some institutions, they even recommend, because this one is taken in my particular context, where we recommend either of those 2. So if the university has other referencing style, the most important thing is to make sure that you follow that referencing style to the last letter or comma. That it is this type or that type is neither here nor there, but are you following it? And is it the prescribed referencing style for institution? It becomes a problem if at one point you are using APA, you are using Harvard, you are using Chicago or the other, or even you have footnotes here and there. It has to be clear what is the recommended referencing style, and is the student able to stick to it throughout the proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Professor. I think there's one last question in the chat, but before we come to the question.
Okay, Doc, can I come in quickly just to add something?
Yes, Prof. Yes, Prof. Welcome.
Yes, I think I would like to support Professor Maphosa in that your study has to follow a certain language. So the paradigm that you choose has a specific language that you need to follow. So for example, if you use interpretivist paradigm, it has its own language, even if you talk about issues of validity. And then if you go to positivist paradigm, it has its own language, even if you talk about its validity. So what is happening then is that with interpretivist paradigm, the alignment of the issues of validity are treated as trustworthiness, where you have some basic principles of that paradigm. One may be dependability, but if you go to positivist paradigm, it will be in line with reliability. And then in the interpretivist paradigm, if we talk about you talk about what do you call it? In a positivist paradigm, you can talk about external validity. But when you go to interpretivist paradigm, it will be in line with transferability. You see the terms that are used by each of the paradigm is not the same, but they are practicing the same process using different terms. So these are the terms or concepts that are used by the specific paradigm. That is why you have to identify a paradigm that will give the language of your study. Without a paradigm, you will struggle to talk about the issues of trustworthiness versus validity, because these are in line when you talk about your study in terms of the paradigm. So those are the issues that I think are important in what you are writing. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Koza. Well done.
Okay, thank you, Professor Koza. At least you have shed light on that, and I think our students have gained. There's maybe what I will call maybe the last question in the chat to Professor. I think is from Maphosa, and he's asking that in a case whereby we do an action research, is it allowed to also introduce the intervention we intend to employ in our study in the background, or should we only focus on giving a background to the problem? Let me repeat the question so that it's clear. The question is, in a case whereby we do an action research, is it allowed to also introduce the intervention we intend to employ in our study in the background section? Or should we only focus on giving a background of the problem? So that's a question. Maybe Prof, you respond to that. Let me see. Okay. There's another comment, but I think this is a compliment. So there will be that question, Prof. But before
sorry, Prof. I think there is another question from Tabang, who's indicating in the chat that he would like to come back again and to add on what was discussed. I think if we can allow Tabang.
Okay, the Bang, if you're here, maybe you can pose your question, please. You can restate your question if you had asked it a little bit earlier.
Oh, it looked like he has the network in his part.
Maybe he has a network issue.
Yeah, he has just indicated that a network.
Yeah, but before, yes, Dabiso.
No, it's just that Tabang wanted Prof. Koza to come back during his comments. I think Tabang lost connectivity. He just wanted Prof. Koza to repeat his emphasis, which I think was to the extent that the presentation was highlighting the coherence that has to be maintained, even within the qualitative dimensions. Issues of reliability and validity need to be interpreted within the same paradigm. I mean, they are aligned to the paradigm. Yes. So he wanted that to be repeated because he just lost connectivity at the time that Prof. Koza was talking to that. Thank you.
Okay.
So then, Professor Koza, briefly.
Yeah. Okay, I just gave an example to say if I work with interpretivist paradigm, I deal with the issues of trustworthiness, where I have 4 principles, which is credibility, dependability, transferability, and confirmability. But when I work with a positivist paradigm, which is a quantitative studies, I will have to address the issues of reliability, external validity, content validity, all those validity. But these are in line with what those interpretivist studies are doing. So for example, then I said example, if we talk about dependability under trustworthiness, it is in line with what we call this site. This site is called dependability. This site is called reliability. And then if you say transferability is in line with external validity in the positive study or in quantitative study. So those are aligned like that. I think we'll try to add to Professor Maphosa's presentation so that we'll add that table which will align the two, quantitative and qualitative in terms of validity, so that when you receive his presentation, you will see those issues highlighted at the end.
Thank you. Thank you. I think now it's clear. So maybe before Prof comes to respond, I can see there are a number of comments raised on the chat, and some people asking whether the slides will be shared. And I think as a tradition, we have always shared the slides. There's somebody who is asking whether it will be possible to exchange emails so that we, for networking. And maybe I could request, I don't know, Professor Koza, whether before we finish, whether it's possible to design a Google form which you can share on the chat, and then people can record their particulars, their names, their university, their country, their email, so that maybe the form can be shared later so that people can continue networking.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you can see whether it's possible to do that before we close. And now I call upon Professor Maphosa to respond.
Hi, Chair. I think the question that I got was the one on action research. I don't know if there's any other. Where the student was saying, when you are doing action research, do you need to foreground the intervention in the background, or you just focus on the problem? I think an action research by nature is identifying a problem and possibly how to solve the problem through an intervention. So I believe both issues can be highlighted in the background without any problem, especially by addressing the other contexts where there was that kind of a problem and how it was addressed, so that it clears ground for this particular research now in another context. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I can see Nancy, the hand is up. Nancy?
Basi, unajua imefunga, kuja nifungulie.
Nancy, we can hear you. Go ahead and ask your question.
Actually, I wanted to ask this question a little earlier. It was on abstract, and I already did, and I received a response.
Okay. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we are coming towards the tail end, and I can see in the chat I'm seeing quite a good number of compliments to Professor Maphosa. I can see one from Doris Joker saying that thank you for such an amazing presentation. The webinar was a game changer for many. And there are so many. There are so many that are coming, and I think it's a clear testimony that the presentation from Professor Maphosa has been quite impactful. And like I said, not only to our students, but even to us, members of faculty who are here, because learning is a continuous process. Learning is a continuous process. And I believe that everybody has benefited. And I would like to request our students that I can see we are about 100 of us, but I'm sure in the 4 universities, the number of students who are registered for doctorates it could be 5 times the number that is here today. And if you could be able to share these with your fellow students, so that maybe in the next webinar we get more, so that more students get to benefit, so that they are able to move. So thank you, Professor. I think it has been an honor for me to chair this session where you are making such a wonderful presentation. And at a point, I felt I wish I was your student. I think your students really enjoy. If that is how you teach,
thank you.
If that is how you teach, then your students really have it nice. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Okay.
And I think I'm going now to hand over the program to Professor Koza, maybe for the way forward.
May I be allowed to leave? Thank you. Some students are requesting the PowerPoint presentation. I can send it to Prof. Koza, then you can share with the students.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
that is in order.
definitely.
That is in order.
Yes, please, please, Prof, send it to me.
Thank you. May I be allowed to leave? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
so we really appreciate your time and your wisdom. And we expected such. Because we know you from
Thank
very
you,
far. Therefore,
okay.
you're among those that can help us to go through this. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof. We'll see you. Maybe if you join us next time, okay?
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you. Okay, colleagues, in closing then, I've just sent my email on the chat. so that if you want to communicate with us direct, you just communicate it through that email, and then I'll add you in terms of our group emails, etc. Therefore, when we send the PowerPoint presentation, we will then receive it from that email, which will group. Alternatively, someone who is closer to you, whom you know, can also be useful if he or she can share with you. But the main one is that just send it to me. Just send a blank email to me. I'll take your email and combine it with the group email so that we have a group email where we will be chatting. So in closing, then I would like to acknowledge all colleagues from all universities who participated today. I did notice that we were also joined by University of Namibia. I saw Monica there from University of Namibia. And then I saw Professor Mnube from Northwest University. I also saw Dr. Mtembu from Durban University of Technology. I saw Professor Mpungose from the University of South Africa. And then I saw another colleague from University of Limpopo and University of Free State. So thank you, colleagues, for joining us. I think what should then happen is that let us have your formal email so that we'll formally invite you for our next webinar, which will be on the let me check the schedule here because I'm sharing the schedule for our next webinar. Our next webinar will be okay, let's see here. It will be on the, is this? On the 12th and 13th of April 2024 on literature review. It will be hosted by Kenyatta University. So we have a strong scholar there who promised to give us food for thought when it comes to writing a literature review. I noticed that some questions that were posed to Professor Maphosa were also around literature review. So this scholar will then be taking us through literature review then, so that when we move to June the 7th and 8th, we'll then have someone from UKZN who will be giving us issues of theoretical framework, conceptual framework, or analytical framework, all those issues. So those are the issues that we are going to have in the next in our next seminar or webinar. But then for tomorrow, remember, as usual, colleagues, that we ask our students who would like to share their work with us. So what I did then here, when Professor Maphosa asked our students to share their experiences, these 4 students indicated that they wish to have some contribution from us. So then tomorrow, let us start with Grace. If Grace is willing to share that with us, and then followed by Turo, if Turo is still prepared to do so. Then we have Makonjane, if she's still prepared to do that, and then we have
Definitely so.
Definitely sure. Oh, that's it. That's the spirit we like. And then we have the last one is Tobelani. But the others who also would like to join tomorrow after Tobelani, let me have, send me your email to indicate that you need that 10-minute presentation so that we'll be able to contribute towards what you are doing. So my email is khozas, KHOZAS, @ukzn.ac.za. So you send your email there to indicate your interest of presenting tomorrow. Then we'll then take it from there. But otherwise, these 4 students, I think, are ready to present tomorrow, starting at 8 o'clock. Let us start at 8 o'clock. Professor Mpungose from the University of South Africa will be sharing all the sessions from students. If colleagues also wish to present their research work for us to support them, you can also indicate, you can send an email to me to koza@ukzn.ac.za. Then I will add you here so that after our students have presented, then you will also come through with your presentation. So I think I've clarified all the issues, colleagues. And then the next seminar then will be in April 13. Our famous professor from Kenya, whom I don't want to mention right now, will be presenting the issue of writing literature, but is also highly ranked in the world and in Africa. So he will be taking us through. Thank you, colleagues. But before I close, then I just like to open these few minutes to colleagues who would like to say the closing comments. Any colleague who would like to say closing comments? How about let's start with the countries. Anyone from Lesotho? Let's start from Lesotho.
Yes, Prof. Thank you so much. I feel so humbled to speak on behalf of Lesotho. And I would like to say this cohort is growing in leaps and bounds. And every time we have a session, you feel like we are moving up there. We are rising from strength to strength. And like what one area speaker said, there's always something to learn. Thank you so much, Prof. And colleagues.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone from Kenya or from Kenya?
Okay, I don't know whether there is any of my colleagues who would like to speak because I've been speaking throughout. Anyone from Kenya who would like to speak?
Yeah. Just closing comments.
Yes,
Even a
I'm
student.
here.
Yes, go on.
Yeah, I really want to appreciate the chair and the prof. I've really learned a lot, and at least it has opened me on how to approach my proposal, because I'm supposed to craft one, and I really appreciate it. It was really an amazing presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. From
Okay, thank you, Prof. And I noted that we also had a student from, I think, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University is a university in the western part of Kenya. I'm sure she got the link maybe from one of our students. That's welcome anyway.
Yeah, maybe her comments. Oh, it looked like now. She has disappeared, eh? Yeah, but yeah. And how about Eswatini? Anyone from Eswatini who would like to have just last comments? Okay, it looks like they don't have one who is interested in that. Okay, let's take for Namibia. Monica, do you want to say some comment?
Yes, I really appreciate the presentation. I learned a lot from the presenters. I would like to say thank you very much. Next time I will contribute a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
bring your colleagues, eh?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. So
Yes.
you have my email. You can connect through my email. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. from the Northwest University, Prof. Ngube. Prof. Ngube? Oh.
Hello.
Yes, Prof.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. 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 Can I speak?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Okay, Robert.
I want also to say thank you. Yes, I can hear you, Simon. I can see you. I can see you. I don't know if you're in Pretoria or Johannesburg. I don't know where you are.
Yeah. Continue, Robert.
Yes. I want to also congratulate you for this meeting, mostly our university, Kenyatta University, Dr. Hongo, and others who have decided it wise so that we can meet and talk about our experiences as students who are trying to enter into the world of academics. We might have been stuck somewhere, but the insights you have given us for the last 2 hours or so are very, very much important. And again, we are living in a world where it's a village, There's no difference between South Africa, Namibia, Kenya, Eswatini, or Swaziland, as you might call it. The world is a global village. We need to collaborate so that we can come up with solutions to the problems that are engulfing the world today, because our South African problem is a Kenyan problem. A Swaziland problem is a Kenyan problem or South African problem, because we are experiencing the same problems as people. Nowadays, it's very easy to transfer knowledge, And when we say that, we also need to talk most of the times so that we can transfer the knowledge that we are generating as students and scholars. So I'm very happy to hear from you, because when we are here, South Africa is London to us. I have a friend who lives in South Africa. He lives near, I think, the University of KwaZulu Natal. He's a good friend of mine. We schooled with him in Kenya here. He talks good things about South Africa. So when we hear scholars from South Africa, it's like we are hearing information, we are getting insights from the very best of our African brothers and sisters. So I would like to make this one as a normality, so that we can be having these conversations now and then to build networks. The one nowadays is built of networks. So we have already shared our email addresses. So the people who came up with this idea, we should create a group so that we can be sharing our experiences now and then. And also because we have now formally become friends and acquaintances, we can also engage outside the official networks. And that's my wish. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Professor Pengu. Professor Pengu, are you still here? That's your closing comment.
Yeah, Prof, it's unfair because you have been there.
That's closing comment.
Others should get an opportunity. No, colleagues, Robert and the other colleagues who are saying that we are growing in leaps and bounds. I quite agree with that, and I also enjoyed this. The other issue I think that Robert has just mentioned, that I was also thinking about, is that of networking. Sometimes we've got a number of PhD students and we need international examiners, and then we have, conferences have been becoming fewer and fewer since COVID. So we usually meet in conferences and all of that, and then we learn to know one another in terms of the passion, the specialization, and all of that. So this platform is actually opening more opportunities for us to know one another and so on. So thank you so much, continue colleagues, with the good work that you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Prof. Prof. Mpungose?
Thank you so much, Prof. And through your vision, Prof, of Africanizing supervision, I think we are getting there, Prof. And compliments of the new to all colleagues from different spaces in the continent. And we hope that, as this is the first session we are having, which was fruitful, and we are going to make it throughout the year, as we are having gurus who are presenting to us in different contexts. And in the world of knowledge production. Prof, with those few words, I'm looking forward to meet our presenters yesterday at 8 so that we can kickstart and presenting 10 minutes each person and maybe 5 minutes for in engagement. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you so much. Let's close with Prof. Salele. Prof. Salele are still here? Oh, look, I think he is not, yeah, he's no longer with us now. Okay, thank you, Corey. Thank you very much.
Prof. Koza.
Yes?
I'm sorry.
Oh, Prof.
Yes.
Mube is here now. Oh, he was away. He's back now.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I was struggling with the connect, not with the connectivity. I think it was with the mic here. But thank you very much, Prof, for this wonderful platform. I'm very happy to be part of this community. It's it's growing. Last year I was part of it, but because of the commitment, I was getting in and out. And I'm glad to see Prof. Bengu, Prof. Pungose, Prof. Robert, and all of these wonderful people. Really, our African brothers. We are just putting everyone, in a small pot, and we are sharing ideas. Prof. Tamsanga Bengu, I like what you are saying in terms of the examination. To really share expertise and also assist one another, critically review, work one another. For instance, in terms of the, helping our students in terms of the proposals. We need, an experience, but I've also encouraged my students to join, and they are very happy. And also colleagues here in Northwest, they are also excited, and they will be joining very soon. So thank you very much, Prof, for this wonderful platform. So tomorrow we will be also joining, supporting students. We'll be making comments, and please, please don't feel offended by comments that you are going to make. Not that they are meant for, putting you down, but like we critically review your work and then we assist you. Thank you so much, Prof. Koza. Thank you so much. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Prof. Mube. And then, yeah, let's meet tomorrow. Let's create enough energy so that tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we'll then join using the other link, and then our student will be presenting. And then if colleagues want to share their research work or their articles, they can also do so after our students. Thank you very much. Let's now close. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye, Prof.
Bye. Bye-bye then.
Bye. Bye, Prof.
Bye.
Thank you, Prof.
Bye, colleague.
Bye.
Bye, Prof.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night,
Bye. See you
everyone.
tomorrow. See you tomorrow.